I've been on this journey. I've been on this personal journey of reclaiming my joy. All of us have been going through very difficult few months that have been stretching into years. And we need to reclaim our joy. We can't let what is coming at us define us. We need to stand our ground. We need to know our truth. We need to step in the center of our being and reclaim our joy. Reclaim our joy in the face of the eternal, of the amazing, of the awesomeness of this place. Which leads me to what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. Because we're about to enter into what I would call the prayerful moment of our service. And I have to spend a few minutes to explain to you and talk to you about one of my favorite topics. I want to talk to you about God. I don't know if you heard about that. It's a very, very, very complex topic. Very dangerous topic. So I'm going to dive right in. Now, it's important for me to talk to you about God because I don't want you to stand up and share in the blessings and the prayers we're about to share together without an understanding of what it is we're talking about. I'm not interested in having robots at services. I'm interested in having people who are here, who are present, who are here for themselves, who are seeing in those words what they perhaps need to hear for themselves. So let's talk about God. Let's talk about God. I'm going to start by saying that I don't believe in God. I know, it may be shocking that the first words out of a rabbi's mouth would be, I don't believe in God. But I didn't feel anybody was trying to throw anything at me, so I'm going to keep on going. You know, the God that I'm talking about is the God that I grew up with. I don't know where I picked it up, because nobody told me. I guess it came with the milk, or I don't know. You know that God that we just were fed growing up? About that male, white male, grandpa, sitting somewhere in the clouds, manipulating this whole earth, telling us this and telling us that and making us move this way or move that way like a pantomime. You know which one I'm talking about. That kind of God is very dangerous. That kind of understanding of God is dangerous because it splits us apart. Because it puts that entity outside of ourselves, and therefore he pits us against each other to know which one has the best version of that thing over there. And then my version obviously is better than yours. And if you don't believe in mine, then I'm going to have to kill you. I mean, yeah, to that point, right? And we've been doing that for hundreds of years. We still are in the middle of it, by the way. We sometimes call it something else, but we're really in the middle of the same thing. To me, this God became impossible to befriend when I started to be conscious of the Shoah, of the Holocaust. Like I couldn't make sense of having any such being allowing that to happen. Allowing 1.5 million little children to walk to the gas chambers. I couldn't live with a God like that, so it just wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work. And I think for the Jewish people, after the war, God has become very much challenging. The issue is that it's actually not the God that we've had. I don't know where we as a Jewish nation adopted that version of God, but actually it's not historically the God that we've had. I want to refer all the way back to biblical times. Like even the word God itself comes with so much baggage. So much baggage. We love it, we hate it, we reject it, we embrace it. It comes with so much baggage. 3 little letters. 3 little letters hang upon something none of us understand. Which is really, it's like if God was a 3-letter name that was written on a name tag, where would you put the name tag on? Where does that name tag go? I mean, we have to understand that these 3 letters are pointers. They're not it. And the problem we have is that when we believe that God, the word itself, represents what God is, we get lost. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's just a word. It's just a word. I joke around with the kids that I tutor for bar mitzvah. I tell them to erase the word God and use instead to talk about it the word umschlimkum. Josh, you should come to my classes. They're great. I'm serious. I tell them just from now on, as we're having this conversation, let's use, instead of the word God, because forget about it, use the word umschlimkum and see what happens. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just letters. It's not the letters themselves. It's all the conditioning underneath that makes us go yes or no. I believe, I don't believe. True spirituality actually is the end of belief. True spirituality is the end of belief. Because again, anything that has belief attached to it means that you are to follow a certain kind of dogma that somebody else has taught you need to follow. True spirituality is the end of belief. There is nothing to believe. There's nothing to believe. At Bet Alef, we affirm once and for all, and I say that every time, but we affirm nonetheless once and for all that this is not a place that you have to believe in anything. There is nothing to believe here. The invitation is to experience, to know for yourself. That is true spirituality, not belief. So if we're able to move beyond the word God, I want to introduce you to 2 other words that are actually at the center of the Jewish tradition, and in the way that the Jewish tradition, the Hebraic tradition, has understood or tried to wrap our hearts and minds around this, whatever this is, and we're going to just call it this for now. 2 words, and they're all over the Torah. One word that we call Adonai, and one word that we call Elohim. Now, if you look in the mystical tradition, if you look in the Hasidic tradition, those 2 words, that one that we call Adonai and one we call Elohim, represent 2 different facets of what, let's call it, that is. Yes? Adonai, which actually is not the name of God, is actually a word that we say instead of the unpronounceable name of God, which is written with 4 letters, Yod He Vav He, or in English, YHVH. And I love that concept. In and of itself, our rabbis have always told us, all the way back to biblical times, this is the unpronounceable name of God. It's not because we want to put a fence around that name and say, oh, you cannot pronounce that one because he's got magical powers, and if you say that, Mount Rainier is going to erupt. No. It has a deeper spiritual teaching that says this is the unpronounceable name of God, because if you understand that those 4 letters, then you understand that there is nothing you can say in words that would do justice to what those 4 letters stand for. And in fact, those 4 letters are just a holding place in the Torah and in the prayer books where there should be a blank. Because what they are talking about is the transcendent divine masculine, according to Kabbalah. The transcendent divine masculine. Now, the transcendent divine masculine is formless. The transcendent divine masculine is not part of the manifest world. It is prior to any manifestation. It is emptiness out of which form arises. But it is emptiness, formless, nothingness. It is inqualifiable because anything we can say about it is in the world of creation, and this is prior to creation. So in fact, there's YHVH there where there should be a blank. But we were concerned that if we left a blank, then the next editor would not know what this blank was about and would fill it, and that we would lose the meaning of it. So we said we're going to put 4 letters, YHVH. And those 4 letters actually in Hebrew are the verb to be that is written at the same time in the past, the present, and the future. So if you were to pronounce YHVH, you would say, was is will be. Was is will be. Which is very close to Mukshlam Punksh, which I say to the kids. Was is will be. I mean, if you just listen to it like that. What it's trying to convey, it's the isness, the beingness of that. That which is. That which is prior to creation. That which is. Now, that's only one aspect of it, because there's 2 sides to that. The other side of the divine is the name Elohim. The name Elohim is actually written in the plural in Hebrew. The im at the end is the mark of the plural. And it denotes in Hebrew the one manifesting as the many. This is what's in Kabbalah is called the Shekhinah, or the indwelling divine feminine. The indwelling divine feminine of this birthing reality. But there are not 2. They're not 2. There are 2 sides of the same coin. They are not 2. The not 2-ness of it is what we call non-dual spirituality, non-dual understanding. It's not 2. What does that mean? That means that at Elohim is everything. Everything is Elohim. Elohim is everything. In the Hasidic tradition, they define God in a negative because they say that you cannot say anything positive about that, because if you say love is God, that you are forgetting that there is always the flip side of that in this level of consciousness. If God is love and God is everything, then God is the opposite of love as well. God is hatred. If God is good, it's great, then God is the opposite of that. God is evil. God is manifesting as good, and God is manifesting as evil. Everything is God. There is nothing. So here's the way the Hasidic define God. There is nothing that God is not. There is no one that God is not. There is no where that God is not. There is no when that God is not. God is. At that level of reality, God is. And God is also nothing. God is also the transcendent. But Elohim is everything. You, me, the pews on which you sit, the carpet on which I walk, these walls, every breath, every beating of our hearts. There is nothing that God is not. We are that. Each and every one of us. Now, what does that mean? And I don't expect us to, like, sitting right now listening to what I'm saying, to go, yeah, sure, I got it, no problem. Again, this is not about somebody telling you. There is no dogma. It's about taking that and seeing for ourselves, and we'll talk about how we do that in a second. Seeing for ourselves if this is true, doing the experiment and checking the hypothesis against our own experiment. And that's what we do in a meditative synagogue. We do the practice. But the The consequence of this understanding that everything is God, that God is everything and everyone, is that there is no one that we can throw out of our hearts. There is no enemy. There is no other, and no way to otherize. The only way to be from that understanding is embrace, is inclusion, is welcoming, is understanding that no matter what shape or form or language or color or gender, whatever you are expressing through your being is equally the manifestation of God as anybody else. Nobody expresses God more or less. We are all, I like that image, we are all waves on one ocean. Each and every one of us, a wave, a unique, beautiful, incredible, precious wave on one ocean. And none of us is other than the ocean itself that expresses as a billions and billions of waves. We are all equally water. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Elohim, the divine feminine, immanent, is that ocean of which everything is and everyone is a wave. So we can't have enemies. It says in the Torah, you shall not murder. Well, if you understand that each and every one of us is just a wave expressed as an expression of the ocean, who will you murder? Right? You shall not steal. Actually, it's not you shall not. It's like if you understand what I just said, it's not you shall, you will. Actually, the Hebrew is a future, not an imperative. You will not steal. Of course you will not steal. Why are you stealing? Who are you stealing from? You will not be jealous of each other. You will not want what the other, because there is no other. It's just another expression of the oneness of being that shines from within each of us. I say that because I know it's a little bit far-fetched. It's unique perhaps to this synagogue. It's unique perhaps to our practice. And that's why I wanted to invite you into this kind of understanding. Let me just end with practice, because that's how I transition to our worship time, which is not a good word. Because again, the word worship, imagine that there is something outside of ourselves that we need to worship, where everything is arising from within us. So if there's anything to worship, it will be not our ego, but the light of being behind each and every one of our eyes. I think it was Einstein that once said, but everything is attributed to Einstein, which is kind of, he must have spent every waking hours of his life after he said E equal MC square, just oozing spiritual teachings, because everything that was ever said is from Einstein. Anyway, Rabbi Google says that Einstein said, the one that is looking at me through your eyes right now, the one that is looking at me through your eyes right now is the same one that is looking at you through my eyes. There are three modalities of practice. There are three specific modalities of practice because they call us at different places of human beings. There is a practice called meditation. To me, they're all modalities of prayer, whatever that word means. And we'll talk about what it means in Hebrew because the English is very limiting. The first modality is an inner-looking modality. And that's one of those practices called meditation. So part of this service, we'll do a little meditation in order to engage in that inward practice. And the practice is for us to look within and to hold our experience in every moment as an object in our awareness, simply to look at our experience, our emotional experience, our physical experience, our mental experience, to look at all of it as it arises, moment to moment, and to let go of control, to be present to what is, and to let go of control. That's if you were to define what meditation is, that's it. One of my favorite teachers, Adyashanti, not a Jewish teacher, his thing is, do you want to know what meditation is? Sit down and shut up. And let everything that arises arise. Be with what is exactly as it is. Don't try to want it to be any different than it is. Let go of control. And then you will realize what it is that is aware. So that's one practice. The second practice is an outwardly directed practice, which is to practice seeing the divine in everything and in every moment, in every action that we do. So in our tradition, by the way, meditation is a Jewish practice. We've been practicing meditation for thousands of years, and this is a workshop. But don't think that meditation, when I speak of meditation, I speak about the Buddhist tradition or the whatever Hindu tradition. I speak about the Jewish practice of meditation, which one of our mantras we'll meet in a second is the Shema. But the second practice is an outwardly focused practice. In our tradition, it is manifested through the thousands of blessings we have to say all the time. We always joke, it's like, what? There's a blessing for everything in Judaism. I think it's in Fiddler on the Roof, right? Is there a blessing for the Tsar? Yes, Rabbi, yes, there is a blessing for the Tsar. May God bless and keep the Tsar far away from us, which we should practice these days. Anyways, it's coming. There is a blessing for everything because in every moment, there's an opening of the heart. In every moment, there is a recognition that whatever it is we're doing, whatever it is we're eating, whatever it is we're saying, the presence of the One is right there. I'll give you just one little story from my childhood, and I know those of you who come to BenHaim often have heard me say that story. When I was very young, I was in the Orthodox Jewish community. And my rabbi, we had an outing, and we came back to the synagogue, and we had a little snack at the end of the outing. I was really young. And we were all having, part of the snack was everybody got an apple. And the rabbi, Orthodox rabbi, tell us we had to say the blessing before eating the apple. So I raised my hand, and I said, why, Rabbi, why do we have to say a blessing before eating the apple? Why? And he said to me, we say the blessing because in the moment of us biting into the apple, we would have fulfilled the reason why the apple was created in the first place. We would have completed its life purpose. But the apple doesn't have a mouth to thank the universe, to thank life, to thank love, to thank God, however you want to call that, for its life and for fulfilling its life purpose. So we said the blessing on behalf of the apple. We thank the universe for having provided us with nourishment, for having fulfilled this life. That's why we have this beautiful path of blessing. The Torah says, the rabbi said we have to say 100 blessings a day. Can you imagine living our life, getting up in the morning, looking for 100 things to bless? Can we reclaim our joy? I think we would be able to reclaim our joy if our focus for life was to look for blessings instead of looking for curses, which we've become very good at. We are experts at cursing. But that's the tradition. The third and last modality, which we're all going to enter into now, is an I-thou connection. Is entering into a relationship with that which is everything. And we enter into a relationship because we don't know yet the truth of who we are. So we start in relationship. And there's this great thou, that is this great love, that is a great being to which we can pour our heart to. And this kind of conversation is what in Hebrew is called lehitpalel, which is mistranslated as prayer, because lehitpalel means to have a self-conversation, and a self with a capital S. That's what in Hebrew praying is. It's a self-conversation. We are arguing with, we are loving with, we are talking to that great thou. And as we continue this practice, we move from this place of communion to understanding that we are one with that. A moment of union. And then we move even beyond that to a place of identity where we realize that I am. I am that. Which, by the way, the name that God told Moses his name was. When Moses asked God, what's your name? God said, I am. I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am. I am every that. I am any that is that-ing right now. Good. I wanted to share that with you because I think that makes us somewhat unique. And that changes everything. That changes everything in the way we relate to each other, in the way we seek to heal in the world, to change the world, to evolve and to grow together, and to meet, to encounter the oneness of being.